In the middle of a burning alien battlefield, a dying warrior grabbed the hand of a human engineer and whispered words that would change the fate of 2 civilizations forever. "Please, raise my daughter among humans." No one on Earth knew that Promise would one day start a war, unite galaxies, and prove something the universe had always underestimated: humanity. The crash no one survived. The diplomatic cruiser Aurora Path fell from orbit like a broken star. Flames tore across its silver hull as it crashed into the barren plains of Kepler 442c. The ship was supposed to be carrying ambassadors from several alien civilizations to negotiate peaceful cooperation with Earth. Instead, it became a graveyard. Smoke twisted into the sky as burning metal scattered across the ground. Among the wreckage, Ethan Calder slowly opened his eyes. Ethan was not a soldier. He was not a diplomat. He was only an engineer assigned to maintain the ship's translation systems. Yet somehow, he was the only human still breathing. His ears rang as he pulled himself from the broken cockpit. The air smelled like melted metal and strange alien fuel. "Is anyone alive?" he called weakly. Only the crackle of flames answered. Then he heard something else. A low, painful breathing sound. The warrior in the wreckage. Ethan followed the sound through shattered metal until he saw her. An alien warrior lay pinned beneath a collapsed beam. Her armor was dark blue, carved with glowing silver patterns. Forearms rested against the ground, and her skin shimmered with faint golden scales. Ethan recognized the species immediately. The Karath Dominion. They were one of the most feared warrior civilizations in the galaxy. Yet the warrior lying before him was dying. Purple blood flowed from a deep wound across her chest. Ethan rushed forward. "Hold still," he said, pushing the heavy metal beam away with desperate strength. The warrior's eyes opened slowly. They were bright amber, sharp and intelligent even through pain. "You are human," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan replied. "Stay awake. Rescue ships will come." But the warrior slowly shook her head. "No. They will not arrive in time." Her breathing became weaker. Ethan tried pressing his jacket against the wound, but he already knew it was hopeless. Then the warrior suddenly grabbed his arm. Her grip was incredibly strong. "There is a transport pod," she said with difficulty. "Cargo chamber 3. Ethan frowned. "What about it?" "My daughter is inside." For a moment, Ethan thought he misunderstood. "Your daughter?" The warrior nodded faintly. "She is very young. 2 cycles old. I was bringing her to my home world for her naming ceremony." Her voice cracked slightly. "But the council, they will not accept her." Ethan blinked. "Why not?" The warrior's eyes darkened. Her father was accused of betrayal against the Dominion. Executed. Silence filled the wreckage. "His dishonor will fall upon her," she continued. "They will erase her name, abandon her in the outer colonies." Ethan stared at her in disbelief. "She's just a child." "Yes." The warrior looked directly into Ethan's eyes. "And that is why I must ask something impossible. A mother's last wish." Her grip tightened around Ethan's wrist. "Take her," she whispered. Ethan froze. "What?" "Take my daughter to Earth." The request hung in the air like thunder. "Raise her as human." Ethan shook his head in shock. "I'm not even married. I'm an engineer. I barely take care of myself." The warrior gave a faint, painful smile. "That is exactly why." Ethan blinked in confusion. "I studied humans before this mission," she said softly. "Your species does something the rest of the galaxy does not understand. You create families from strangers. You protect the weak. You adopt those who have nowhere else to go." Her breathing slowed. "My daughter deserves freedom, not shame." Ethan felt something heavy settle in his chest. "What's her name?" he asked quietly. The warrior looked toward the distant wreckage of the cargo hold. "Her name is Lyra." Then she looked back at him. "But if you take her, give her a human name. One that belongs only to her." Ethan swallowed hard. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the desperation in her voice. Maybe it was the idea of a child being abandoned. Or maybe it was simply because he was human. Finally, he nodded. I promise. The warrior closed her eyes. Relief washed across her face. Then, I die in peace. Moments later, her grip loosened. And she was gone. The child in the pod. Ethan stood there for several seconds, silent. Then he turned and ran toward cargo chamber 3. The wreckage was thick with smoke, but he eventually found the emergency stasis pod. Soft blue light glowed inside it. His heart pounded as he opened the hatch. A small alien child lay curled inside. Her skin shimmered with soft golden scales, and her tiny hands rested peacefully against her chest. 2 bright amber eyes slowly opened. She stared up at Ethan. Mother, she asked softly. Ethan's chest tightened. He forced a small smile. My name is Ethan, he said gently. He carefully lifted her from the pod. The child tilted her head, studying his face. Where is my mother? Ethan hesitated. Then he spoke as gently as he could. She was very brave. And she asked me to take care of you. The little alien girl stared at him for a moment. Then, slowly, she reached out and grabbed his finger. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Okay, she said simply. And in that moment, something impossible began. A human. An alien child. And a promise that would one day shake the galaxy. A world that had never seen her kind. 6 months after the crash, the small apartment overlooking the rainy streets of Vancouver had become the quiet center of a problem far bigger than Ethan Calder ever imagined. Because inside that apartment lived something the galaxy had never seen before. An alien child, growing up among humans. Lyra sat on the window platform Ethan had built for her. Her small scaled hands pressed gently against the glass as she watched the city below. Cars moved like glowing insects through the night. People walked with umbrellas. Neon lights reflected across the wet streets. Her eyes followed everything with deep curiosity. Kareth children learned by watching. And Lyra watched everything. Why do humans walk in the rain? She asked suddenly. Ethan looked up from the kitchen table where he was working on repair schematics. Because we're stubborn, he said with a smile. She turned toward him. Stubborn. Yeah. Rain doesn't stop us from living. Lyra considered this carefully. Humans are strange. Ethan laughed quietly. You have no idea. But the peaceful moment didn't last. Because Ethan's communicator suddenly beeped. A message from the United Earth Council. And the title made his stomach tighten. Urgent diplomatic hearing. Velka Dominion request. Lyra noticed the change in his expression. What is wrong? She asked softly. Ethan forced a calm voice. Nothing we can't handle. But inside, he knew the truth. The galaxy had finally noticed. The demand from the stars. The Earth Council chamber was packed. Diplomats. Military officers. Journalists. And floating in the center of the room was a holographic projection of an alien figure wearing ceremonial armor. A representative of the Velka Dominion. The same empire Lyra belonged to. The alien ambassador's voice echoed through the chamber. The child known as Lyra is a citizen of the Velka Dominion. She belongs to our people. Her removal from Velka authority violates interstellar law. Ethan sat quietly in the witness seat. Across the room, council members whispered nervously. Trade agreements with the Dominion were extremely important. Their technology and resources were valuable. No one wanted conflict. The ambassador continued. The human known as Ethan Calder illegally removed the child from Velka custody. We demand her immediate return. The room fell silent. Finally, one council member spoke. Mr. Calder, do you wish to respond? Ethan slowly stood. He was not a politician. He was not trained for speeches. But sometimes humans did their best talking when they were simply telling the truth. She wasn't stolen, Ethan said calmly. Her mother asked me to take her. The alien ambassador tilted his head. The word of a dead warrior means nothing against the authority of the Dominion. Ethan's eyes hardened. To humans, it means everything. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The ambassador continued coldly. The child carries the bloodline of a traitor. She has no place in Velka society. Then why do you want her back? Ethan asked. The question froze the room. For a moment the ambassador said nothing. Then he answered carefully. She belongs to us. Ethan leaned forward. No. She belongs to herself. Humanity makes a choice. The council chamber exploded into arguments. Some members warned about diplomatic consequences. Others spoke about human values. One older councilwoman finally stood up. Her voice cut through the chaos. She is a child. Silence followed. The councilwoman continued. If humanity sends a child back to be abandoned because of her father's crimes, then what exactly are we protecting? The chamber grew quiet. The Velka ambassador spoke again. You risk angering the Dominion. The councilwoman looked directly at the projection. Maybe. But humanity has always been very protective of children. Another council member added quietly. And if the Dominion truly believes abandoning children is honorable, then perhaps they should reconsider asking for our respect. The alien ambassador's eyes narrowed. This decision will have consequences. The councilwoman nodded calmly. Everything does. Finally she turned toward Ethan. Mr. Calder. Yes. Do you still wish to adopt the child? Ethan didn't hesitate. Yes. The councilwoman smiled slightly. Then welcome to parenthood. The chamber erupted. Some in relief. Some in anger. But the decision was made. Lyra would remain on Earth. The day the galaxy watched. News of the decision spread across the stars faster than anyone expected. Alien networks reported it as a diplomatic scandal. The Dominion called it an insult. But across human media, the story looked very different. Human engineer adopts alien war orphan. Earth defies alien empire to protect child. Suddenly, Lyra wasn't just a child anymore. She was a symbol. Humans began sending messages of support from all over Earth. Children drew pictures of her. Families offered gifts. Scientists volunteered to help her adapt. Even astronauts on Mars sent a recorded message welcoming her. The galaxy watched in confusion. Because to many alien civilizations, this behavior made no sense. Why would an entire planet care about one small alien child? But humans understood something the rest of the galaxy did not. Every child mattered. The night the sky changed. Weeks later, Ethan and Lyra stood on the roof of their apartment building. The night sky above Vancouver was clear. Lyra looked upward. Those lights are other worlds, she said quietly. Yes. My mother came from one of them. Ethan nodded. Yes. Lyra thought for a long moment. Then she asked something unexpected. Am I Velka, or human? Ethan knelt beside her. You're Lyra, he said. You can be whatever you choose. She looked back at the stars. For the first time since arriving on Earth. She smiled. But far above the planet, hidden in orbit, several massive Velka warships had just arrived. Their commanders studied Earth carefully. They had not come for diplomacy. They had come to test humanity. Because the Velka Dominion had one question. If humans would defy an empire for a single child, how far would they go to protect her? And the galaxy was about to find out. The silent arrival. 3 enormous Velka warships floated silently above Earth. They did not fire weapons. They did not send threats. They simply waited. But every satellite, radar station, and deep space telescope on Earth saw them immediately. Within minutes, the entire planet knew. Humanity had visitors. And these visitors were not friendly. Inside the command deck of the largest Velka ship, the Dominion commander stared down at the blue planet. Commander Zareth Val had fought in 20 interstellar wars. He had conquered planets. He had broken entire civilizations. But Earth confused him. His advisors stood beside him studying the data. No military mobilization, one officer reported. No planetary shields. No defensive fleets. The commander frowned. They know we are here. Yes. And they do nothing. Another officer spoke carefully. Humans behave unpredictably. Zareth looked at the planet again. He had expected panic, fear, negotiations. Instead, Earth continued moving as normal. Cities glowed. Ships moved across oceans. Satellites continued broadcasting entertainment. It was as if humanity had simply looked at 3 alien warships and shrugged. Zareth narrowed his eyes. Prepare a diplomatic transmission. If they will not react with fear, then we will see how they react to pressure. The message to Earth. The Velka message reached Earth within seconds. Every major news station broadcast it immediately. A towering armored alien appeared on every screen across the planet. I am Commander Zareth Val of the Velka Dominion. His voice echoed across languages through automatic translators. You have taken a child belonging to our people. You have insulted the authority of the Dominion. You have ignored our demands. The message paused. Then his voice hardened. You have one final chance. Return the child known as Lyra. Or face the consequences. Millions of humans watched. Families in living rooms. Scientists in laboratories. Workers in factories. And one small alien girl sitting beside Ethan Calder on a couch in Vancouver. Lyra stared at the screen. Are they angry because of me? She asked quietly. Ethan muted the broadcast. Then he looked at her carefully. No. They're angry because humans don't like bullies. Lyra tilted her head. What is a bully? Ethan smiled faintly. Someone who thinks being stronger means they can decide everyone else's future. And what do humans do about bullies? Ethan looked toward the window. Up in the sky where the warships waited. We remind them they're not as strong as they think. Humanity's unexpected response. Commander Zareth waited for Earth's reply. He expected desperate negotiations. Maybe surrender. Instead, Earth sent a single communication. Not from the military. Not from the government. But from an ordinary citizen. The transmission appeared on the Velka command deck screen. Ethan Calder stood calmly in front of a camera. I believe this message is meant for me, he said. The Velka officers exchanged confused glances. The commander leaned closer to the screen. Ethan continued. You're asking humanity to hand over a child so she can be punished for something her father did. He paused. Humans don't do that. The commander interrupted the broadcast. Prepare weapons. But Ethan kept speaking. You probably think this is about power. Ships. Weapons. Authority. Ethan shook his head slightly. You misunderstand humans. He leaned toward the camera. This isn't about power. It's about family. Across Earth, millions of humans were watching. And something incredible happened. People started responding. Not with weapons. But with messages. Families posted videos welcoming Lyra. Children held signs saying she's one of us. Scientists uploaded research promising to help her grow safely on Earth. Doctors offered medical support. Teachers offered to teach her. Astronauts aboard the moon station sent a simple message. Space is big enough for everyone. Within hours, billions of humans had sent the same message. Lyra belongs with us. The thing the Velka never expected. Inside the Velka flagship, confusion spread through the officers. Commander Zareth stared at the data scrolling across his display. These are not military signals, one officer said. They are social broadcasts. Another officer added. Humans across the planet are declaring responsibility for the child. Zareth frowned. That is impossible. No civilization operates like this. But the data kept coming.
Millions.
Then billions. Everywhere on Earth, humans were standing together. Not because they were ordered, but because they wanted to. Finally, one younger officer spoke quietly. "Commander, if we attack..." Zareth turned toward him. "Yes." The officer swallowed. "We would not be fighting one government. We would be fighting an entire species." Zareth slowly looked back at the planet. He had fought countless enemies before, but never one like this. A species that united not through fear, but through compassion. And suddenly he understood something dangerous. A civilization willing to defend a child against an empire was a civilization that could never truly be conquered. The decision. Hours later, the Velka warships powered their engines. Across Earth, telescopes watched carefully. Missile systems waited silently. But no weapons were fired. Instead, the three massive warships slowly turned away from the planet. Inside the flagship, Commander Zareth recorded a final message. "This conflict is concluded." Then he paused before adding something unexpected. "Protect the child well, humans. You may have just taught the galaxy something important." The warships jumped into hyperspace and vanished. Earth was safe. The future no one saw coming. Later that night, Ethan and Lyra stood on the apartment rooftop again. The sky above them was peaceful. The alien warships were gone. Lyra looked at Ethan. "Did we win?" Ethan thought about it. Then he smiled. "I think we reminded the universe who we are." Lyra looked up at the stars. "So, humans protect their children?" "Yes." "All of them?" Ethan nodded. "All of them." Lyra squeezed his hand. Then she looked at the stars again. And somewhere far across the galaxy, alien civilizations began studying humanity more carefully. Because the story spreading across the stars was not about war. It was about something far more powerful. A species that would stand against empires. For one small child. And that was the moment the galaxy finally understood something. Never underestimate humans.